Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another cool pinball repair video for you this evening. We have been working on this Williams Serenade pinball machine from 1960, and we've got the thing flipping and flapping. It's about ready to go, but it still needs a little bit of work, so we're going to tighten it up on this little video. If you didn't see the previous videos, go back and watch them. They are the ones that were uploaded immediately before this one on our channel. Go check it out. It's a very cool game, but let me give you a little secret. I like all of them. Go back and find me saying, oh, this game sucks. There's no video of me saying that because I like all of them. But this one, even on my scale, is a very cool game. Okay, so we've got it looking good. Beautiful artwork on the playfield. What a cool machine. And at the end of the previous video, we started playing it a little bit, and we ran into a couple problems. One, the flipper pawl that I had just put on is loose, so I need to tighten that up. And then two, a thing that I noticed just by happenstance. This target gets stuck behind the plastic. So when you do that, the 10 points locks on. Now on this side, this one does not. So there's a little more clearance over here than there is over here. Now these are the original little standoffs or whatever they call them, posts. I think they call them posts. These are the original little posts. You can't get those anymore that are all beautiful colors like that. Now they're all kind of the more modern looking stuff. So you kind of have to use your original ones. You can try to get better condition original ones off of another machine, but it's not really necessary. All they do is after a while, they kind of heat up and they misshape, they get misformed a little bit. And so what's probably happened to these is that they've flattened out a little bit, so they're slightly shorter than they need to be, or one or the other one is. So the way I'm going to fix it is I'm going to loosen those screws, and I'm just going to put a washer on top of the post to raise that plastic shield up just a little bit. Now that particular plastic, I don't believe is, sometimes they're bowed in the middle. But that one, I don't believe it actually is. It's just the posts are a little too short. So I'm going to put a couple screws on that, and I'm going to adjust this flipper, and that's the very first things that we're going to do. So let me do that, and then we can play it a little bit, take notes, and then fix whatever doesn't work. Alright, so I believe we've got that right now. Whoa, I forgot it was turned on. Why didn't y'all warn me? Doesn't get stuck now. So if you look real close, there's a washer under there. Okay. The flipper, I believe I've got fixed. But we'll keep watching that. It was more of an issue where the post hits the little blade underneath it. It's a two-part, with the screw, it's like a two-part flipper shoe or foot. Okay, what do we want to do next? Oh, you know what I want to do next? This. When you go to pop the ball up with the ball elevator, it doesn't pop out. But if you look closely, the reason is because it hits the shooter rubber. And the reason that it hits the shooter rubber is because the spring out here is messed up. That should be back about like that. It's just a little bit off. Not quite right. So I want to replace that next. Okay, so there's the original one. It had broken into three parts somehow. I don't even know how that's possible. But they don't do it because somebody abused it. They just snap. But usually you don't see them where they've snapped twice like that. That's kind of weird. So put a new one on. Oiled it a little bit. Look at that. That's how it's supposed to be, people. It's like butter. So on these older ones, whenever you take them apart, there's a little clip right there that is actually just pressed into that groove. See the joint there? And so the only way to get that thing out is to just bend it. It's not a C-clip. It's like a ring, like that. You bend it loose, take it off, bend it back with a pair of pliers. They're not likely to come off anyway because of your shooter tip. But so let's see if that makes it where the ball pops up into play a little better. All right, so you can see that the tip is back farther now. Easy peasy. Let's try it again. If you don't push it enough, of course it doesn't come out. But it looks like it's going to come out every time now. Whereas before, about 5 out of 6 times it was bouncing off of the rubber, and it should still shoot. Smooth as silk. Awesome. Okay, so that's that. On to the next thing. All right, folks, so another interesting thing that it's doing that's a little weird is the second player lights are actually on. The first player lights are not. But when you play it, neither one of them work. And all the lights in the back glass aren't on. It's kind of hard to tell. We're going to turn out the lights, people. Let's knock off the lights. You'll be all right. Follow me. You won't get lost. So the second player lights are on. First player lights never come on, and none of the back panel lights are on. So let's see if we can start a game, and we'll see what's going on with that. Well, am I out of credits again? So it's the first player, 2 players. So it said 1 player, now it says 2 players. The reason you pay attention to stuff like that is because you're trying to, like, we're having a problem with lights in the back box, so which ones do work, you know, to help us on the schematics. Ball and play number 1, so we're player number 1. Oh. The player 1 light is not working. Okay, so now I believe we're on player 2. We are. So while you play, none of the lights work. What's up with that? So if you look at the schematics, the first player drum lights. So what is that called? 1 player and 2 players. Let me see here. We have all kinds of lights here. Okay, so the 1 player light down at the bottom is turned on by the second coin relay. Okay, once I hit start again, that I guess went over to here, and now the 2 player light is on. But notice that the 1 player light cannot be on at the same time as the 2 player light because that switch moves. Okay, so the 2 player light is on, but the 1 player light is not on anymore. It was on earlier though. So those 2 are working as intended. Now you have the first player drum lights. So on the right side there, they're just connected to the 6-volt transformer on the 6-volt line on the transformer, and then the other side goes across, goes through a fuse, and comes down here, and it's what's lighting up all of the lights. So our problem isn't going to be a fuse or anything like that. So the first player drum lights are turned on by the second player relay. So the second player relay will pull in whenever you're playing a 2-player game as the second player is up and doing his thing. But if you're only playing a 1-player game, that switch should be over there turning on the 1-player lights. But as you just saw, even when we're playing a 2-player game, we don't get lights over here. Okay. The reason that we're getting the 2-player lights coming on only is that when the game over relay pulls in, it turns on the 2-player drum lights. Now, why in the world would they do it where it turns on the 2-player lights? It's because the 1-player lights are going to be turned on by the whenever the second player relay turns off at the end of the game. So it will always turn on the 1-player lights at the end of the game, and then the game over relay will always turn on the 2nd-player lights at the end of the game. We never get any of these lights, so I've already cleaned that switch and everything. So what do you think the problem is? Well, if you look up here, see, insert display lights. The insert's the back box. They are connected straight to the transformer and straight to the transformer. So they should be on all the time. Okay. So I think what's going on is that we got some kind of broken wire or something somewhere, or a bad connection. If you look at the 1-play light and the 2-play lights that do work, notice that they really get their signal from the 2nd coin relay, which is in the bottom of the cabinet. So they have a different wire going to them. Even though it shows that they all have a common connection to the transformer, really the common connection is going to the 2nd coin relay in the bottom, and then these wires are coming up from the bottom to turn this on. Okay. Now the drum lights, this 2nd player relay is in the back box. So whatever line this is that comes up into the back box isn't working. So anything it connects to doesn't work. The insert display lights, the playfield display lights work fine because that is not actually connected as it looks on this schematic. It's connected in the bottom. The line that comes at the top that does certain lights on the top, none of those are working. Okay. So we just got a bad connection somewhere in between the bottom and the back box. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, so after tracking them down, a way that you can figure out, the wire colors are listed in the schematics, but sometimes it's hard to tell what's what in these EMs because the wires get all faded. So it told me that it's a green and a blue wire. I mean, a green and a red wire. So that is what's left of a green and a red wire. Does that look red to you? You can kind of tell there's a green stripe on it. So that's green and red. So what you can try to look for something that's similarly faded to that level of weird. But what I did was I took the 2 connector blades off, and using a multimeter, I just figured out which pin was the one side of the bulbs and which pin was the other side of the bulbs. And why am I looking here? It's because, as we saw, it lights up all of the insert lights. So you can see how the little braids are used to go all around and connect to all the different sockets, right? So somewhere there will be a place where the kind of the master connection is. And so I just used it to check where my 2 lines were. And it was down on the bottom of this bottom connector right in the middle. And then I noticed that if you wiggle the connector, if you did it just right, you'd get your lights to pop on. So I removed the connector, cleaned the blades even better. I'd already done that once, but not good enough. Cleaned the blades even better, and that brought them back. So all of the bulbs are working. I dropped the insert panel just to make sure. Do you want to see what a beautiful game looks like? Let's turn off the lights again, people. Let's do it. It's worth the walk, isn't it? Look, it's only... Hell, that's what? 10 feet? It's worth it, people. It's worth it for the 10-foot walk. Yeah, buddy. So, whenever we do the videos with the lights turned out, whenever we play them, I think this is what people miss. It doesn't really, you don't get the effect unless you're here. By the way, that humming is the next thing we're going to check. So every one of the bulbs is working. I checked just to make sure. Very cool. I say that, but I see one now that I think sound. It's always one. It's that one right there. I think there's one right there. Maybe I can fix it from the back. Sometimes if you do like this, maybe it, I don't know. Well, let me drop the panel, and maybe I'm wrong. That's more like it. I forgot to put the bulb back in whenever I was replacing them in the panel. So yeah, that's what you want. The nice, warm, cool, old, vintage pinball, wood rail even. Back glass scene. Really makes the game, and it just ain't the same when the lights are on. Okay, so the next thing I want to look at is the hum. The hum that you were hearing is the ball release coil that we worked on a previous video. It is energized the whole freaking time you play. I don't know if it's supposed to be like that. You'd think that they wouldn't design it like that. It looks like at the end of a ball, I'm just going to shoot the ball. It's going to make a bunch of noise, people. But let's see if this de-energizes at the end of the ball. It does. See, I think maybe that should energize and then de-energize again. I don't know. You'd think once you hit some switch somewhere, that would turn off. Because if it just stays on, won't it burn up? You'd think, right? So I'm going to go ahead and use our kick switch. Or try to. Okay, so that's next. Let's look at the schematics, see if we can figure that out. All right, folks, so this is an interesting one. I've been reading all kinds of stuff online. Nobody's ever really talked much about it, but one of the things is this is a two-player Williams, so it's a little different than the one-player setup. The one-player setup, there in the apron here, there was a little area here, and whenever you start the game, it drops all 5 balls into that trough, and so that little arm comes up and lets the balls roll by. And then as soon as you score a point, that thing closes. And the purpose of that is so that the thing doesn't stay on all the time. They can do that on a one-player game, but on a two-player game, they can't do that. The way it originally was let's say you had 5 balls, it just dropped them all in the trough, and you could even play them 2 at a time if you wanted. So on an older EM, you can play more than one. You know what? I just happen to have a Gottlieb here that I can show it to you on. And as the balls fell back down in the out hole, they would fall in there, and then you could see how many balls had been played, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That one's coming up, folks. You'll be all right. You'll be all right. We don't have to look at it now. But on a two-player game, they can't do that. You can even see that the girls are pointing to the area here that has the played balls in it. All right. So this one, though, to be a two-player, they had to do it different, because think about it. If they dropped all 5 balls down, the second player would have to wait till all 5 of the balls had been played. It won't work like that. You can't do that. So they have to use the same ball over and over and over again and somehow keep track of it. So they put the ball count unit and all of that. So they've got, so on the original one, on the one-player ones, as soon as you score something, it turns off, it turns on or off, trips the game relay. So once the game relay goes off, that coil shuts and you don't have to worry about it, okay? So it appears that there is nothing like that on this one, that there's no way to turn that off. So it always gets power over here, unless I'm missing something, and I may be, but it always gets power over here. That's straight to the transformer. And then when it hit the out hole index relay, does turn off the ball release coil, which lowers the gate. That's why it's doing it when the ball rolls through the trough. Now, why do they need it to do that? It's so that at the end of the game it can close, and it's kind of analyzing if it's the end of the game or not with that out hole index relay. Okay, so the out hole index relay, if it was to turn on, that means normally closed there, it would open and that would kill the coil. So that's what's going on. So the out hole index relay is turned on by the trough switch. So the switch that the ball rolls over when it goes into the out hole. Okay, now once it's tripped, it holds itself on because it pulls in that switch until the out hole relay trips or the motor turns around. So you might think, oh, well, you know what? The out hole relay is going to keep it energized. Nope. Nice try. I thought that too, but not quite. So it holds itself on until the motor turns around to this switch and it opens up. Well, so you might think, okay, well, the out-hole relay is still on because the ball is not in the out-hole. So while you're playing, it leaves the out-hole relay on. I thought that for a while, but then I started thinking about it. The out-hole relay is turned on solely by the out-hole index relay. And then it holds itself on until the motor turns. So if you, any kind of thing you score, like if you score 50 points, and the motor turns, it will kill the out-hole relay. Okay, once that opens at any point, right, then it can no longer get power through there for just a second, and it'll close. Once it closes, that switch opens, and the only way to fire it off again is to roll through the trough. So you can't open that freaking thing. This is serious stuff, people. We got to make sure this is right. You can't open that freaking thing by simply turning that relay on, except at the end of a ball, whenever it rolls over that switch. So that's why it's doing what it's doing. Okay, and then if you look back, if you were to tilt the first player, it would turn off the ball release coil, which would lower the gate. So your ball can't come back out. That's why whenever you tilt, it's the end of the game on this era. Okay, so it's still getting power. It gets power through there unless you're tilted. And then I can't figure this one out. I think that special relay, SPC relay, I believe, or SPL relay. Okay, now if you look down here, there's the special relay, and they call it the special relay, like on that switch. So I don't know, but I can't find anything else that's the SPL relay. But if that were to open, it would also close the gate. Okay. But if that's not opened, it's going to get power the whole freaking time that the out-hole relay is not turned on, which is the entire game. So it's always going to be energized unless this SPL period re switches over to here. Now, if that were to switch over to here, then think about it. You'd be getting power through here, through there, back through here. It goes around to there, blah, 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 blah. And every time that the motor turned, the ball count step-up unit would work. So, hell, that ain't right. There ain't no way that's anything. That must have something to do with getting the special or the gobble hold or something, you know. So, and another thing, so then I thought, well, maybe that out-hole index relay does stay on the whole time, and I just don't know. Right? Nope. Because it's right here. The out-hole index relay, if it's ever on, it makes the score motor turn. So that can't be right. So the out-hole index relay does not stay on the whole time. The out-hole relay stays off the whole time, which means that thing's going to have power the whole freaking time. Now, one last thing. I saw some people online saying, hey, the ball release coil is noisy on mine, and several people saying, ain't nothing you can do about it. On an old Williams, they just do that. They're loud as hell. Okay, so look at this. Look at the type of coil that it is. It's an A, which just means kind of like the mount. It's the bobbin that it's on and stuff. And it's a 30-2700, so it's a 30 gauge wire that's wrapped around the coil. An incredible, almost record-breaking, 2,700 times. So it's a 30-2700. So what does that mean? It means whenever they do that, it's so that the coil can be left energized. So look at the one above it. It's a 30, same gauge, but it's only 1,000 revolutions, right? So it's probably a much stronger coil, but you couldn't leave that on all the time. It would burn up. Let me prove my point to you. If you come up here to the lock relay, it's on the entire time the game is on. It's a 31-2300. So it's 31 gauge, 2300. So it's a little smaller wire and not quite as many revolutions. But I don't know. I'll bet if you did the math, that's a similar it's not resistance, but if they can leave that lock coil on the entire time, it looks to me like they can probably leave this ball release coil on the entire time. Wherever it is. right? So I think the thing's just designed to be on the whole freaking time until right before, right as the ball's rolling down the trough. As soon as it hits that rollover switch, it kills that thing and it goes, oh, wait a minute. I don't know if I'm gonna let you by. And then if the if there's still a ball left to play, it goes, all right, you can go by, and immediately goes back up. There was something with the at the end of the game, basically. I don't know how they do it at the end of the game. Do they trip the tilt? They can't trip the tilt relay. Oh, you know what they do? Okay, so here's how they kill it at the end of the game. The game over relay opens, or pulls in. Basically trips, it falls. So once the game over relay opens, no power can get down here. And so the power is no longer going to the auto relay and all that stuff. So, all of that to say, I think the thing's supposed to be on the entire time you're playing it. According to the schematics, there's no way to turn it off unless you tilt the game. So I think we're just fine. All right, so one of the very last things we have to mess with is these two-stepper units we never rebuilt. So this is the selection unit. This is the one that changes. Right in the middle of the playfield, there's a light that says 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. And you hit one to make it change, or you hit, I think, the 1-point things to make it change, or something. And then if you hit any of those targets, you get that selection thing. So this is, it's not quite right. It's just filthy, basically. You see, think of it. Now they usually act, you know, they're pretty violent whenever they do it. But see how that's slow to go back. So the whole thing just needs cleaned up and oiled. And we also need to clean the rivets on this side to make sure everything's working right. And then here next to it we have a bonus unit that is the same thing. It seems to be working a little better, but it needs to be cleaned up. All the rivets shined up a little bit. Make sure it's making good contact. So we still need to mess with those, and that should get it to play a little bit better. And then after we do that, I think we're about ready to test play it and just see if the scoring works good and all of that. But we about got it. So let me work on those for a few minutes, and I'll come back and we'll see what else we can get into. All right, folks, there's a couple little things left, but I think we've about got it. Let's play it a little bit. Let's see what happens. Oh, you know what? I didn't get the new ball. I had forgotten. Come to find out, we were playing with the old ball, but not the real bad one. New ball time. I'll be right there. I've got a whole drawer full of new balls. Hundreds of them. What if there's a shortage on pinballs or something? I have to be prepared, people. All right? Brand new one. Okay, there's our first thing. The 5-point didn't work. It just clicked. There was no 5 points. I don't know that this is... I don't know if this is the best way to test it. I got my 10 that time. Let's let it right by me. Ball and play number 3. What is a beautiful game. Okay, that worked. It said 50, but the double when lit was lit, so it gave me 100. That's why you heard the bell. But when it first went through that 5-point up there, it just went click, and I didn't get nothing. That gave me 100. That was good. Whoa, that was nice. Did you see that? Got my 50 points. A lot of people complain about these little flipper games, the little 2-inch flipper games, but they only need to get the ball to about here, people. I mean, if you're lucky, you might get it up here. That's all you need on this. It's an old one. Yeah, so let's start it again, and I want to see about the 5 points. Okay. So it went up, and it went. I gave him my 5 points that time. I don't know. We'll keep our eye on it. Oh, what happened? Freaking gobble holes. Some people love them, some people hate them. I personally like them. The name is just so great. I mean, how can you not like a gobble hole? Very cool. Whoop. I see a couple flickering light bulbs. Look at the selector. Whoop. By the way, the flippers were rebuilt by the customer, so they already had all new parts. It's pretty snappy for what they are. Those are boy, it gets going, don't it? It's got this kind of cool feature where if one of them's lit, you get 10 times whatever the selected light is, and one of the lights is 50. So you get 500 points. That would be nuts. Okay, okay, we're done. All right, let's try another one. Ooh. Those should be giving you 1 point. It's just because the rubber's too tight. Probably need to put the next largest size on those top ones. If you put too tight of a rubber band on it, it'll rubber ring on it. It will. It's so taut that the ball can't depress the switch. And there is a thing where they used to be measured by the inside diameter, and now they're measured by the outside diameter. So if you look it up, it'll say like 2-inch ring, but now they call it a 2 1/4 inch ring. There was this horrible thing that happened many years ago. I'll tell you about. What is this thing? Oh, saved by the nail for a second. There was this horrible thing that happened about 15, 20 years ago, okay? A lot of you youngins weren't around then. There was this company that made rubber rings for years, and they were called ABC rings. And they were kind of like the old school ones. They were made, legend has it, from a different type of rubber. So the old rubber rings apparently were much better than the new rubber rings. It's supposedly a thing. Now, I don't know for sure, but I'm apt to believe it. So the old ones had a little stamp on it that said ABC, and some people tried to hoard them and stuff. Oh, I'm going to keep them. Now, I ain't never going to run out of these damn rubber rings, but the thing is they dry out over time. You can't do that. So some people went through all kinds of ridiculous lengths to try to save their freaking rubber rings. And so they
they kept them in plastic bags, Ziploc bags, in a suitcase somewhere so that the light couldn't get to it. I didn't do that, so I don't have any ABC rings, but they were the ones that were on like pretty much all the old school games. And what the heck? What in the world? And they were measured differently. So on the older games, it would say the inside diameter. The newer games, the newer rings are measured by the outside diameter, which is a little different. So that one, see how that one just barely hits it, and it like that one barely hits it in rings. Ooh. So those top ones, I might just be able to do this. Sometimes you can do this. Watch this. Give it a little. What? Give it a little extra. Just a little tweakage. So I'm putting a little thicker ring up there, makes it a little more bouncy. So maybe it'll allow the ball to score the points. Nope, didn't work. I gotta adjust them just a little bit. All right, so we got it, folks. There we go. I think she's about ready to go. There's a couple little things. The little ball release thing. Remember how we put the spring on it? No bueno. It don't work right. You can't do that. Which makes sense. That's why they had that weird spring on it. Because you kind of need it. If you put the spring on it, that coil is made just right with that lever and everything that it doesn't want to compress a spring. It wants a real light spring. So I tried to rig one up. And it's turning off, but it doesn't always go back in time to catch the ball. So you end up with this scenario. The ball's still there, but the game's over. I wonder if it'll still score points. Let's go watch it's going to stick in that. Nope. Yeah, so you get an extra ball at the end of it because the gate didn't close quick enough. Let's see if it is closed at all or if that's just going to be a thing. Yeah, so it does close, it's just not quick enough. So I need to see if I can find one of those little springs, and we'll try that. But so there's some little stuff like that. There's this light bulb here. I need to take the shield back off and clean the socket. Similarly, this one. Right? And then these up here need just a little bit of help so that when the ball hits it, it scores. The thing is, on some of these other ones, like this one, it can be where it takes a little force to hit it because you have these pop bumpers that are wham, wham, throwing it into it, right? Same with these. Your kickers are hitting these. So these can be tight. But up here, there's nothing to hit those except the ball falling from here at most, right? So you see what happens? The ball just goes boom, boom, boom. So you got to get those where they're pretty sensitive or they won't ever trigger. It's because ABC Rubber Company went out of business, folks. That's probably why. So there you go. That's our Williams Serenade that we've got going for this gentleman. I hope you enjoyed it. Fun little game. I didn't get to play it with the lights out because I don't have the glass or anything anyway. But I like it. What a cool game. I like these wood rails. I like this vintage. If I had a bunch in my house, I swear it's my style. I'd probably end up with all old stuff like this. I probably wouldn't have anything new. I got all kinds of old stuff at my house. I got old phonographs and radios and all that stuff. Because that's cool. I try not to go, I'm not hoarding it up. Don't get me wrong. I got like, a couple of each. I got plenty of room. Don't worry about it. I don't even know why you brought that up. All right, folks, leave your comments down below. Make sure to give us the thumbs up for taking the trouble to film it for you. I hope you enjoyed it. Little look into the inside of a Williams 1960 wood rail. I know I enjoyed it. Hey, while you're at it, check out my brother Donnie. If you don't know about him, my brother has his own channel here on YouTube. We do old pinballs, jukeboxes, stuff like that. My brother Donnie does old buildings He's got a couple buildings that we're fixing up in a small town near here to help revitalize their downtown area. We're trying to fix them up and rent them out, get some businesses back in town. What do you think about that? So go check that out. I'm over there with him a lot, and I will see you on the next video.